Hi, I'm Kevin Reed with AC Beverage. I'm Director of Innovative Products here at AC, and today we're in Charlie's workshop here in Annapolis, Maryland. Who's Charlie? Charlie is Charlie Kleinrichard, the founder of AC Beverage. Charlie founded AC Beverage over 30 years ago, and we do a lot of dispense work. We help people serve beer. We help people serve coffee. We do great service work all around Maryland and the Virginia markets and DC, and we install draft systems all across the country. I think that there have been a lot of changes, and certainly the past 30 to 40 years have marked some huge changes in the way that beverages are being served, and certainly in the beer space. The FOB is probably the single item that an operator could purchase that would have the largest impact on beer loss and saving a bunch of beer and earning revenue for that business. Think back to times when you're drinking in a bar and you're having a beer and the bartender goes over to pour a beer and they get a little beer out the faucet, but then there's a huge blast of foam that shoots out all over the bar, the tower, the bartender. So the FOB actually traps the beer between the faucet and the cooler in the line, and it saves all that beer. So you don't get that rush of gas that pushes through and makes the beer foamy and shoot all over the bar. FOB is essentially a tool that's going to go ahead and save the beer in the line. The way it does that is as the bartender is pouring a beer, obviously beer is being pulled out of the keg and pushed all the way through the line to the faucet. When that beer runs out in the line going to the FOB, this float will drop down and it will plug up the line between the FOB here and the faucet at the bar, saving all of that beer in the line. When we notice the flow is slowing down, we go ahead and shut that faucet to make sure we trap all that beer in the line. Right? Then we make a trek back to the cooler. We change our keg. We move the coupler from the empty keg to the next full keg for that line. We go ahead and we vent all of the air out of the FOB by pushing down on the button here. And then once the FOB is entirely filled with beer, we go ahead and we turn this lever into the up red position and wait for the float to go ahead and go up to the top. That means we've now opened the pathway between the FOB and the beer faucet at the bar. Primarily, we see FOBs installed on what we call long draw systems. What we're trying to do is maintain all that beer in the line, and there's a value of that beer, obviously. So, you can do a simple ROI on return on investment calculation for a FOB to figure out how much beer you would waste every time you have to clear that line. No matter how much line that you have, 200 feet of line or 20 feet of line or 40 feet of line, the value of the beer in that line on every foot of that line is the same. And I think about it as pints of beer in my line. Right? So in your average trunk line, where we're moving the beer from a cooler to a beer tower, it uses like 3/8 inch line for most of that length. It takes 19 feet of that line to make 1 pint of beer. So if you've got essentially 100 feet of line, you've got 5 pints of beer. Well, I would certainly want to get some revenue for that beer as opposed to putting it down the drain or losing it, right? And so we can all do our own math as to where the cost of the FOB is justified against the amount of beer that we save over the course of time. For all the practical reasons that we would use a FOB to save beer, save a few pennies here and there, right? Whatever that is, but we were trying to make everybody along the beer chain happy. Right? So we have happy customers because their beer was poured quickly and efficiently out of a faucet. We have happy bartenders because they're not getting sprayed in the face with foam. And we certainly have happy owners because they're not seeing, their hard work and profits going down the drain in foamy beer. They're getting the best yield they possibly can out of their draft system. And the core components FOB is absolutely a key part of that efficiency. If there's one thing to remember when we're talking about a great draft system and the core component FOBs place in that draft system, it's that the beer was conceived to taste a certain way and have certain attributes when it was formulated at the brewery. And they took all the time and effort and quality assurance and quality control steps to get that great beer into a keg and get it to the local bar, right? We do not want to drop the ball at that point. We want to go ahead and take that vision and take that liquid and ferry it onto the taps in great shape, so the customer can have that beer exactly as the brewer had envisioned it and as the bar and bartender wants to represent it. We pride ourselves on trying to deliver the perfect pint every time that a bartender wants to pour a beer. And there are so many things that go into that. There's a lot of preparation. You have to have a nice clean pint glass. What we do is we make sure that when you put the glass up to the faucet, all that's going to come out is nice clear beer, no foam, just enough foam breakout to give you a nice crowning head when you have your finished pint. That's really important to carry the aromas of the beer up to the awaiting beer drinker. And then of course, you know, when you get to put it to your lips and drink it down, you taste all the hard work that's gone into both making that beer and delivering it to your glass. You want to do right by the beer, right?